we are in the second part of the video around develop, and this is a focus on prototyping. Developing in 3D is really important so that you move from a 2D representation of your idea to a 3D physical item. This can be done in a number of ways, and it might be that you are looking at simple foam modelling, so soft materials, foam, cardboard, really quick aspects of 3D shape. And then you can test things like this hairdryer in your hand to see whether it's too small or too big. You can start to understand the form and volume of the object, so we have two sort of developments of the same idea, and you can start to iteratively improve your design outcome. What I find in moving to 3D is that you actually start to understand the three-dimensional problem. It's not just about designing this hairdryer, it's about understanding the three-dimensional space and how elements of that object might work together.
And after all, all of the products that are designed in industrial design are going to be 3D objects, so it's so important to make that jump into the real tangible 3D world as soon as possible.
Okay, why can't I just make a CAD model? That is the question I'm always asked. It's super important to work out as much as possible before you go into CAD land. CAD land doesn't have things like gravity or tactility. You can't hold a CAD model in your hand. Yes, you can do a 3D print, but it's a whole lot quicker with much less investment to make a 3D model and test that out really quickly. You could do one of these in maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah.
A CAD model with this level of complexity, even the best CAD modeler, it's going to take you a lot more time.
Okay, so the goal of prototyping is really about discovering about the design. You could almost rephrase that as ironing out any possible problems before you invest too much. So, for example, with this hairdryer, the form's gorgeous. It has this beautiful organic shape, but to my mind, I think it's possibly a bit small. Now, until the student actually made this at sort of real 3D scale, they wouldn't have had any idea that perhaps their design could be too small. So luckily, by making this version, they could both prove that the aesthetic intent is good and it does look very nice, but they can also just check that they've got the scale correct before they pour too many more hours into the project. The other great advantage of making multiple prototypes is, much like the development sketches, it helps you to evaluate which is the best design. If you can line them up all side by side, you can go back to your return brief and get a very clear guideline as to which design option is going to be the most successful.
You can also test it out with lots of potential users. So if you're designing something for children, which maybe this hairdryer is, Charlie, it's quite small, or if you're designing something for the elderly, you can actually see whether people can understand how to interact with your product and can they actually use it. So prototyping is really, probably one of the most essential phases of the design process. The other aspect of prototypes is that you can do works like prototypes, where you use found materials to test out things really quickly. So this might be structures, it might be functionality, it might be things that are not impacting on the visual nature of the hairdryer, for example, but might work on the internal areas.
Yeah, just to really prove that it actually works as opposed to just being the right size.
Yeah, exactly. So the workability of something can be quite important for product designers.
In summary, physical prototyping can seem pretty daunting, it can seem like a lot of work, but what we've really tried to communicate in this video is that what you learn from doing a simple prototype can be so valuable and can save you a huge amount of effort further down the track. So you can think of it as kind of a safety net, just to ensure that you're not kind of going down the wrong path. I think it's important to also understand that there's lots of types of prototype. There are prototypes that are all about the look and feel and the size. There are also prototypes that are all about testing whether or not something could work.
Yeah, functionality.
I think what it's important to understand is that you can make different prototypes to test those different properties. So you don't have to make your first prototype look and work like your final design.
Exactly right. So prototyping can be Finding out what's your objective, what do you want to learn most from making this prototype? Is it how it looks? Is it how it works? And then you design, in a sense, your prototyping process to suit those objectives.
Yeah. So it doesn't need to be a super refined, super beautiful model. It can be something very crude and rough and ready to start off with.
It's like a kind of 3D testing.